Hello and welcome to the Astrology and Spirituality Show for week commencing the 10th of May with Elisa and Patrick. Now, if you're new to us, I'll just give you a bit of an idea of what the show includes. We're going to look at the Hermetic wheel and see what card is highlighted. There's actually two this week. I'm also going to share the overall astrological ins and outs, which will give you an idea of how we need to flex to the different energies. We have the word of the week, which this week is sacred. We also have reader questions, which this week is linking numerology to the tarot and astrology. We have the birthday horoscope analysis of the week. So this is based on the person who has won. And we've got a chap this week. We've had ladies up until now, so we've got a chap. So that's exciting. And we also have
our modality of the week, which we are going to be using the soul purpose oracle cards, because I really do feel that it ties in with the mailbag question for this week.
We hope you're keeping well. And so let's just have a little look at the astrology as we start this week off. Now, there is a very potent new moon on Tuesday, and it's a new moon that I'm so excited about. And this is because when I do my deep dive videos, and you can see the one for this new moon underneath this video, for really quite a long time, there's been some kind of conflicting energy coming from another planet or position. This particular new moon is really supported by the gentle healing energies of Neptune. So that's really exciting. So this means, because the new moon in Taurus is very much about the foundations of our world, it's to do with what we build our lives upon. So it can be very much to do with physical stability, but it's also to do with our self-worth. And of course, in a more practical way, it's to do with our everyday finances. So this new moon is giving us encouragement to try to grapple with the new reality of the COVID outbreak. Perhaps some people have lost their jobs, or there's been a change in the way they've done their job. Money's been tighter for some. And Neptune's just reminding us that it is the spiritual dimension that is so important, which leads us to the Hermetic wheel, Elisa, because there's a bit of a clue there with the spiritual side of things, isn't there?
Definitely. So on Monday, we are still in the second decan of Taurus, which we talked about last week, which is the Six of Pentacles, very much about charity, sharing, and thinking of others. But as we move into Tuesday, which is when this really beautiful new moon happens, we move into a new pip card, a new tarot card, and it's the Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles is about us following our dreams. It reminds us that this is a journey. It's not just about reaching the destination. And so whilst we might have to be a little bit patient before we really hit our goals, it's about at least having the ability to have those dreams, dream big. I like to think of the Seven of Pentacles as like gardening. You know, we plant those flowers, they don't bloom straight away, but we take care of our dreams, we nurture them, and they will flourish.
That's lovely. And Elisa is now sharing the Hermetic wheel on screen, so you can see exactly that transition between the 6 and the 7 of coins. Also, in a very practical way, Venus, the planet that governs the sign of Taurus, is actually now in the third house of Gemini. Gemini energy is very quick-witted, but we also have Mercury here, and Mercury is actually forging this week a very patient link to Saturn, which really builds into what Elisa was saying. It's saying that we need to analyse the detail. We need to be aware of every single step. If we do our due diligence, if we're very aware of exactly what the practical circumstances are, there's a greater chance that we can keep stepping forwards in a progressive way, but keeping things stable. Now, also this week, however, the Sun is forging that beautiful link with Neptune. Neptune energy can be really quite challenging at times. It can be quite distorting, and it can be rather tricky. But this is really asking us to stay in touch with the more compassionate and healing parts of life, if possible. So if we did meet somebody new for the first time, it'd be a good idea not to judge them only on their status in life, what job they do, what car they turn up in. Very important to stay mindful of what's deeper down within them. But also Thursday is a very, very exciting event, because then Jupiter moves into the sign of Pisces, one of two it governs. It's going to be here through to the 28th of July and then come back for the last 3 days of 2021 in the sign of Pisces. Now, Jupiter in Pisces is about philosophy, it is about spirituality, it can be about expansion, of course, but it can also be linked very much to sea travel. Now, we know that Jupiter generally is very much to do with travel, and the sign of Sagittarius, which it also governs, is very much to do with boundaries and borders. But I think in the sign of Pisces, it's only going to go up to 2 degrees before it goes into a retrograde on the 20th of June. And of course, when Jupiter does slow down each year for 4 months, it does feel like things are contracting a little bit. But this year, I feel that Jupiter can give us a sense of optimism. It's really pushing back against some of the sadness and the tragedy that has occurred over the last year. But I don't say this lightly, because, of course, we still have the big outbreak in India. So just on that point, I just thought I'd have a quick look at Prime Minister Modi's natal horoscope, and I was quite intrigued to see that his Sun, Mercury and Saturn are all very tightly together in the sign of Virgo, which would definitely make him a pragmatist. So why is it that he has been a little bit slow in how it seems to those outside of the country to lock things down again, to be very cautious as they were in the first outbreak last year? And actually, as you can see from the screen, the transit in Neptune is directly opposite those 3 positions. So I actually feel that he has been a little bit confused, and the bafflement that comes with Neptune is very often in how we lose our clarity of thought. And I would have thought clarity of thought is something that he ordinarily would have in spades. So that's just something to interject into this week's show. But then as the week draws to a close, the Sun is forging an awesome angle to Pluto, which is like transformation central. But it can be in a practical, physical way, so it could be around resources because they're both in earth signs, or it could be that we're changing inside ourselves. I'm constantly reviewing how I've done things and how I might have done them differently, not in a way that I'm beasting myself, but in a way that I'm humble and I'm learning. I'm thinking, well, perhaps, yes, with the knowledge I have now, I might have related to that situation differently. So our inner journey continues really till we take our last breath, if we choose to be that open. So that's a very, very positive aspect that brings to an end what can be quite an incredible week, not least that Mars and Uranus are also in a fabulous sextile, so opportunities can come very quickly this week, and we have to be ready to seize them before they whiz by.
Wow.
Now, on to that modality then, is it?
Yeah, so let's have a little look at what our soul purpose oracle cards say for us this week. Okay, so the word that comes up for us is relationships. It says here, I'm attracted to those people who serve my highest good. Wow, this is really quite deep, because it's not saying I'm only attracted to people who I get on with. I'm not only attracted to people who agree with everything I say. This is, I'm attracted to people who serve my highest good. Sometimes that means that we are challenged. And that is such a wonderful thing for growth. There's a difference between being sort of someone sort of degrading our point of view and just gently challenging it, you know, so that we can, you know, like
give an counter viewpoint.
Yeah, give an counter viewpoint, and us being open and receptive to listening to that. So,
on both sides, even if that counter viewpoint covers both sides, saying, look, maybe I haven't got this right, but this is how I see it.
Yeah, and listening as well as sort of being able to talk our viewpoint across. So I think relationships are going to be very key this week, and it's just something to bear in mind.
We live in a world where everyone wants their opinion, but not so many people are prepared to listen, it seems to me.
Yeah, and it's very much like people can get very irate about their opinion, and that isn't a judgment. I've done it myself, especially when we're really, really passionate about something. But it's really important for us to know that not everybody has had the same background, same upbringing, same life experiences. All these things form our view of the world, and so we can't ever 100% agree with everybody else's views. It goes back to one of the conversations we had about values, and I think as long as we're with people who have similar values, then views can be vastly different.
I think that's brilliant. Absolutely,
because the underlying value is really what is important. The views that go on top of that, whether it's politics, whether it's nutrition, whatever, they're things that add to our personality, but it's not who we are.
I think that's fabulous, Elisa, yeah. Because, to be honest, when we met, I think we were like a couple of tigers circling around each other for about 3 years before we actually met, because we were both aware that each other had a degree of power over the other.
Yes, yeah. And we did challenge each other.
And yeah, a lot.
Still do. yeah.
Elisa particularly challenges me. Quite rightly too, of course.
Challenge you to a duel, Squire. Where's my glove?
Where's my blunderbuss?
But yeah, so it's fine to be challenged. It's fine to have those sort of circling moments. That's what makes life quite enjoyable, actually. But those underlying values are what are key, I feel.
A joke of the week. Phil McKnight, who's Russell Grant's manager. Russell, a fabulous person, very warm-hearted person, very sadly lost his mum a little while ago. If you're watching, Phil or Russell, all the best from us. But I have to tell this joke that Phil told on Facebook. I think it was absolutely brilliant. He said, "I like sleeping. It's like death, but without the commitment." And that really made me laugh.
I was actually thinking of that before I went to sleep last night.
It's just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, really
so thank
funny.
you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I hope you're both well. Right, so this week's winner is Rodney D. So we've gone for a chat this week. Rodney is the husband of Ladona, who's a big follower of us. And we try to be as fair as possible in how we pick these out, try to keep it as varied as possible, but it is important if you want to write in and share your date of birth, if it could be for the week we're doing the forecasting, we'd be grateful, because then it keeps it very topical to that week. So Rodney's birthday actually is on the first day of this week, the 10th of May in 67, and he was born in Lindsay, Oklahoma, and at 5:48 a.m. So let's just have a little look at your natal horoscope, Rodney. As ever, I don't look at these before in any particular detail. You've got your node, your north node in Taurus. You've also got your ascendant in Taurus. And so the north node, which gives us our kind of instinct, is in your first house. So first house north node people have quite a strong desire to be their own person. You were also born, I can see, just marginally after a new moon. And so that means your midpoint between the sun and the moon for you is actually very much in keeping with your innate nature, because it is at 23 degrees Taurus, and you have the sun at 19 and the moon at 28. So with Mercury also in Taurus in the first house, I think stability probably has been very important to you. And I think you're someone who probably has had fairly stable ideas. But I can only be honest, Uranus has been going over your ascendant and also your north node over the last couple of years. You've probably been feeling quite restless. Now, when you were born, you also had Saturn and Chiron in your 12th house. This is a bit of a sensitive concept, Rodney, but I do feel that when you were younger, you may have felt that you were targeted a little bit by people who were unkind. Just for clarity, Elisa has Chiron in the 12th. I have it in the 4th. It's a very, very delicate location, having Chiron in the 12th house. They say that Chiron is the key. It was a comet discovered in the 70s, and it's very much about where we shine. So I would imagine you do have some very deep psychological insights, but at the same time, with Saturn being there, your sense of vulnerability around other people's sincerity and also honourability has probably been a bit of a life journey. You need to be with people that you can really trust. And if we look on the other side of the heavens, your Neptune is right on the 7th house cusp. It's in your 7th natal house, but on the 7th house cusp of your midpoint. So I think around relationships, you probably have had quite an acute psychic antenna, but at times that may have been an area where you have felt that other people haven't always tuned into you with the same care as you have to them. You also had Venus and Jupiter in Cancer, which is lovely, and Jupiter is in the 4th house, so that also increases that psychological and very sensitive part of your nature. So that's your nativity. You do have Mars in Libra, which I can only be honest is technically in detriment, but it is in the 6th house, so you're very hard working, and I think you're someone who does really appreciate fairness, and your midheaven is in the very practical and productive energies of Capricorn. So let's just have a look at what your secondary progressions are saying. Now, this is where we take from the moment of birth, we count forwards the days, literally, that represent a year. So each day represents a year. And it means, Rodney, that in your ascendant and also your descendant, they are both just 1 year beyond a big change in your life, because they're both on cardinal points. So your ascendant went to 0 degrees Cancer, and your descendant is 0 degrees in Capricorn. So I think that's quite pivotal for you. And the other thing that came up for me was that your progressed sun is now in Cancer, and you also have Mercury there as well. So they've moved on from being in Taurus when you were born. So that need for security has definitely been important. But in the sky, the move in Pluto has been squaring up with your progressed Mars, which is in your 5th house. So Pluto's been in your 8th house. So there may have been some politics around you, perhaps to do with possessiveness, jealousy, perhaps your creativity hasn't always felt rewarded when it comes to your work. But let's have a look at your solar return. Now, your solar return actually occurred, I can see, yesterday on Sunday. So why this happens is it's because the sun returned to the point it was when you were born at 19 degrees and 5 minutes in Taurus just 1 day earlier this year. So what I can tell you is that some kind of big changes happened at work for you. It's either been extra responsibility, a breakthrough, or you're feeling, or you're going to feel in the months ahead, that there is a chance for those opportunities. But it may also mean that you feel at times that your individual freedoms are compromised a little bit by making that bid for greater recognition. And you do have a big cluster of energy in your 12th house on your solar return. So that's the moon, which is in Aries, the part of fortune in Taurus, the midpoint is in Taurus at 6 degrees, Uranus is at 11, the sun 19, and you also have Venus in the 12th house as well. So because Saturn in Aquarius is right on your 10th house, but squaring up to Uranus in your 12th house, I do feel that some nervous tension is possible if you have too much pressure at work. But your desire to express yourself is going to be strong. You're wanting to do better financially. You may even travel a little bit to do with your work, or there's part of you that wants to travel in your mind. So you may find that you're being a little bit more open to more psychological strands and themes in your situation. So anything like this type of interest area anything to do with healing, therapies, the occult, are all going to be very fascinating to you at this time. Even if in the past that's been an area that's brought you some tenderness, I think your natural capabilities in that area can really shine in this coming year. But I feel you are going to need some moments of very great quietness and peace and tranquility, because I think at work it's going to be full on, but there is the chance to really make a breakthrough there. So I hope that makes sense to you, Rodney, and thank you so much for entering. If you would like to enter, all you've got to do is just write down, "Hi Patrick, Elisa, could you put me in the prize draw for week commencing the 17th? This is my time, date and place of birth." I've had to do Rodney's solar return on where he was born because I didn't know where he's now located, so it could be a little bit different. But you can see from your progress chart, Rodney, that there are lots of very big themes there as well. Now, if you'd also like to enter a word of the week, again, just write underneath your name on the comment the word of the week that you'd like us to look at for week commencing the 17th. But this week it is one from last week that we didn't have time to fully cover, and it is sacred. What's your take, Ellie?
So sacred is that word of the week, and the adjective for sacred means close to God.
Lovely.
So it's anything that helps us feel close to that deity that we believe in. So
any particular god?
No, this can be a array going from ancient Egyptian times to right up until present day. You can have this in Christianity, you can have this in Buddhism or Hinduism. It helps us feel closer to that higher power.
And of course, we were both educated as Catholics, and we used to have sacraments, didn't we, linked to a communion.
Yeah,
so
this is where you'd be receiving that communion, again, helping you feel closer to that higher power, sharing in something very personal, very tender with, in that case, Christ. But it does just mean something that we really value, something that's very important to us. It could be like a family heirloom, for example, that becomes sacred to us because it's been sacred to our ancestors. So anything that is very special, unique and important.
That's lovely. And of course you can get a derivative of that word, I imagine, might be sacrilege.
Yeah.
Where we're not upholding the purity of that item.
Yeah, or we're going against it, if things are vandalized, for example, that would be sacrilege because we're damaging something that is sacred, we're not respecting something that is sacred.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you, Elisa. So please write in any keywords you'd like us to look at. It's always a challenge because we have to ad lib on this kind of things. But there was a question this week that came in from Alini. And
I love it. I've got your question here, Alini. And you say here, late to reply, but another great video, so thank you very much. Do you have an interest in numerology and how a life path number may tie into our natal chart and the tarot? Does your life path number resonate with you? Do you think it can contribute towards a relationship compatibility? I see that you've got the master number 11 as your life path number, which in some ways is fantastic because master numbers have particular power. 11, 22, 33, 44, they're all considered master numbers. They do have their challenges with them, however, as well. So every life path number will have sort of pros and cons to it.
What would you say the challenge would be of an 11 then?
I think you kind of have to take on a lot of responsibility in some ways. It is a number of enlightenment. So part of your existence may want to be very much in the spiritual realm, but you're constantly being forced into joining in the more physical, human reality. And so it's balancing one foot in the spiritual realm, one foot on practical land. And that can be a bit tricky.
I met an 11 person. It was actually a lady who looked after my mum when she was in the latter parts of her life in the care home. And what I got from knowing this person was that I think 11 people are very, very individualistic in some ways.
Yes.
They're very much their own people.
Definitely. And in some ways that, again, is fantastic. It's so great to have that unique strand to your personality.
So come on, what's your master number?
Okay, well, my life path number is 4. So it's very, you can be a bit of a workaholic with a number 4. You can do things too much. People can tell you to slow down, stop going for it, and you won't listen. You can
I do think this may be true.
you can burn yourself into the ground because you are a bit addicted to work and to trying to find that success. I share my life path number with Oprah Winfrey, Donald Trump, and Frank Sinatra.
Well, you love Frank.
I do love Frank. And your life path number,
right.
Patrick, is 7, which
Okay.
is a seeker of knowledge and a seeker of truth. And I do think that that is part of your personality, you know, constantly wanting to get to the truth of things and being very genuine, which you are, and having that deep integrity. And when other people don't share that, I think it can really sort of, you know, annoy you. That truth is
Well, I am very idealistic. Yeah. And
But you're very practical as well.
It's not always good to be so idealistic.
You share your life path number with Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, right,
and
great.
Johnny Depp.
Oh, whoa, okay.
And what's his name? Antonio Banderas.
Oh, wow,
Yes.
gosh.
So there we go.
Honoured to be
It's all
with
life
Marilyn
path
Monroe, for sure.
But in general,
I have been known to sing to people Marilyn Monroe's birthday greeting.
you do that every time it's somebody's birthday.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
That's where you get it from. And I'm the president because I've got the trump.
Well, of
so
course,
you've got to sing it to
absolutely.
me. So in general, though, I think
Some people shake.
Some
I
people
don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Of course, I won the election. It was a clear win. It was all corrupt. No?
Since he's not been in office, I've not been able to do impressions of him anymore.
Honestly, I was
It's
living
bizarre.
with Donald Trump for 3
It's all I could
years.
do was Trump
So,
every
you were
every
just
single
absolutely
day.
channeling him
I
all the
really
time.
was. It was bizarre. But anywho, I haven't done Biden yet, so we'll see.
I'm glad to know that. And moving swiftly on.
So numerology in general can be very beneficial to know, whether we're starting out on tarot or whether it gives us a deeper meaning into tarot.
So how does it link into the astrology and the tarot then?
So, for example, if I was reading somebody's cards and they pulled the Magician and they pulled the Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Cups, the common theme between those 3 cards is they are all number 1 cards. And number 1 is new beginnings. So you're not just reading the cards that are there and the meaning of the card, you're looking to see if there are any number patterns. If someone had a spread with a lot of 5s in, or they pulled the Hierophant, for example, 5 is the number of change. It can be very uncomfortable. So that would indicate to me someone is going through some sort of change in their life. 3 is a very interesting one, because say you pulled the 3 of Cups, which is very much about community and happiness, and the 3 of Swords, which is very much about loss and endings. You might think that those 2 cards are so different, but they share the number 3 in common. And what's 3 about? 3 is about growth and transformation.
Okay.
And we can have growth and transformation through the good times and through the bad times. And so that 3 reoccurring is a reminder to the person that I'd be reading for, that whether good things are happening or there are more challenges, it is all part of this growth that they're going through it at the moment. So numerology is very important in tarot,
And also,
it can help a lot.
with the Hermetic wheel, we're talking about the decans. So each of the zodiac signs is broken down into 3 sections of 10 degrees. So the second decan of Taurus, which we're in or just going into on Tuesday, is actually not governed by Venus, the ruler of Taurus. It's governed by Mercury, the ruler of Virgo. And then the third decan of Taurus is governed by Saturn. So in the Hermetic wheel, we can see that there is a connection there between the 3 stages of development that we have of each zodiac sign. And also, obviously, we can drill down even more. We can divide each of the 30-degree sections of each sign by 12. And then we get the 12th harmonic, which is known in Indian astrology as dwards. So every 2.5 degrees is represented by a different zodiac sign. The first 2.5 degrees by the zodiac sign that we're talking of. So Taurus. The second, from 2.5 degrees to 5, would be represented by Gemini. So that's another way that we can link in numbers, and also the number 12, of course, 12 apostles.
This is it, 12 stations of the cross, so
12 months.
12 months.
3 seasons, 4 seasons, sorry. But then, of course, we have things like the qualities. We have 3 different qualities, which is cardinal, fixed, and mutable. So Cardinal is?
Cardinal is that very sort of like, you know, it's a starter.
I will.
I'm going to do this. I'm going for it. Then you've got that fixed, which sticks to it. It gets a job done. It just
Stability,
is tireless.
the application.
And then you've got that mutable, which is very much like, I'm done now. I want to move on to something
the flexibility.
fresh.
Yeah. So there's lots of different threads that go between the three disciplines.
But, you know, it has been said that numbers are the language of the universe. You know, that is really the universal language, isn't it? Numbers. We can all relate to numbers. We all know what numbers mean, and I'm no mathematician, but that really does make sense to me that numbers tie into every single thing that we do in life.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much,
I hope
Elisa.
that's answered your question, Aline.
Yeah, and please write in any questions that you've got that we can feature in week commencing the 17th. Again, just write it underneath your name on YouTube.
Yeah.
And also word of the week if you want to enter the birthday free prize draw of the week. But for now, from the A team, I think we're pretty well there for this week.
We are
Elisa?
indeed. So thank you so much for joining us. Really looking forward to seeing you next week. Can't wait to see your comments and check in with how you are doing.
Yes, because we love the interaction of all this. It is a community.
It is.
And if you've yet to subscribe to our channel, we'd be honoured if you did so now. But for now, from the A team,
It's goodbye from me.
and it's goodbye from us. Goodbye.